Hi, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about topics. For your essay number 3, you're going to get to choose your topic that you want to write on. But like I said earlier, sometimes you'll be assigned a specific topic, which is usually a little bit harder. So the idea is that choosing a topic is such an important process in the writing of your paper. And I call it a process because there's steps that you really want to go through rather than just picking the first thing that comes to mind. You can really waste a lot of time if you choose a topic without thinking it through. You can waste a lot of time researching something that's not going to work. You may struggle to find things to say about the topic. So, kind of going through this process early on is usually a more efficient way to decide, is this really going to work for a paper? So, I sort of just typed up here some things that you might think about when you're working on choosing a topic. So as I've said a couple of times, I think it's a really good idea to start by asking a question rather than a topic, because that's going to help you narrow down your search, especially in that research process. Again, the idea is that if you just start with some huge topic, then your essay is probably not going to be very focused, which is really what a report should be. And also, it's going to lead you to find articles that really aren't going to help you. So let me just give you an example. Let's say I want to focus on the topic of infidelity, like people cheating on their spouses. If I just go in with that general topic, infidelity, and type it in Google, I'm going to find a million aspects of that huge topic, right? You know, reasons why people cheat, causes, effects, how not to get caught cheating, like a million ways to think about that topic. So the effect is going to be that I'm going to find all these articles and it's going to spiral out of control probably. I'm going to have a hard time sort of going back and finding only those articles that really focus on that aspect of the topic that I want to look at, right? So again, why not take that from a specific angle? Maybe I would raise a question like, what impact does cheating have on kids in a family, right? So if the parents are cheating, one or both of them, how specifically does that affect the kids? That's a lot more specific than just going in with a large topic like infidelity, where whole books have been written about this topic. So, you know, if you guys are going to be writing a 5-page essay, think about a topic that will get you 5 pages, right? So it kind of goes with that next item here. Shouldn't be too broad, but it shouldn't be too narrow either, right? So I wouldn't want to choose a humongous topic like racism, right? Again, that is way, 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 way too big to try to focus on, right? But then on the other hand, I probably wouldn't want to focus on a topic that's so narrow, you know, something like the riots that happened in Cleveland. Yeah, there's stuff that you could say about that, but I think you'd have a hard time getting 5 pages out of it, right? So you want that sweet spot somewhere in the middle where it's narrowed down a bit, but you still have plenty you can say about it, right? So this next one is important. You have to choose a topic that can actually be researched. In other words, there are probably going to be articles on this topic. A lot of times I have students who have a really great idea in theory, but then when they go to find articles about it, they can't find anything. And, you know, for a report, it's really important that you include research in that, or else there's nothing to report on, right? So, you know, I'm thinking a topic like COVID-19. Yeah, there have been a lot of like little newspaper articles and things written on it like that, but it's still such a new phenomenon and we don't really know what to expect with it in the future. So my guess is it would be hard to find a bunch of conclusive articles on this topic because we just don't have enough information on it yet. I don't know, I could be wrong, but any topic that's fairly new, you might kind of hold back because there may not be enough articles available for you to do a really complete report, right? So again, it's a matter of just kind of looking and seeing what's out there. But if you can eliminate off the bat certain things that you say, no, this is just too new or it's too narrow, that'll save you time in the long run. An important aspect to think about, is this actually interesting to you? I'm always surprised by how many students will choose a topic that they couldn't care any less about just because they say, well, this sounds like something that would be appropriate for a college essay. Or I've actually had students say, well, I only write on this topic because I thought you would like it. Well, you're not writing for me specifically, right? You're writing to a general audience. So I think you're going to have a much easier time if you can find a topic that you actually care about or that interests you, one that you wouldn't mind looking at articles about, right? Because that research process can be really difficult if you're wading through a bunch of boring articles that don't relate to your life in any way. So again, I think that's an important thing. So you want your topic to answer the question, so what? In other words, the answer to this question should have some significance, right? It should matter. And, that can be a lot of things. Maybe the answer to that question relates to how people live. Maybe it tells us something about how people behave. Maybe it tells us about what people care about. That's kind of, the purpose of a report, right? That it has some significance to it. Going along with that, my next one, someone would care about the answer to the question, right? If you're raising some question and, it's just so specific or only really would matter to a very small group of people, then you might want to second guess that and look at something that has more of a big picture significance to it, right? Kind of like I was mentioning before, you have to choose a topic that can be answered, right? In other words, it can be supported with evidence. So I wouldn't want to choose something, a topic that's just personal choice, right? Like, what's the best breakfast cereal? That's a matter of opinion, right? You're not going to be able to report on that because everybody has different criteria for what they think is the best breakfast cereal. So again, if it's just like a purely opinion-based thing, it's not going to work probably. If it's something based in belief, right? Like something like, are miracles possible? There's no way to prove that, and especially not with articles that you're going to find from a database or something. It has to be something where there have been studies done on it, where people have collected data on it, where you have quotes from experts who are talking about it. Those are signs that it's going to work as a topic. Another good sign is if it raises other complex questions, right? If it's such a simple kind of yes or no question or something that seems too obvious, then it's probably a bad topic for your paper, right? I think that it has to be something where you don't really know what the answer is to this question, and that's why you're going to do the research to see if you can figure that out. And I said here, part of the reason why I'm asking you to do an abstract, which you're going to learn more about later in the learning activity, is to see, is this topic actually going to work? Because again, it's always frustrating when you kind of rush into a topic without thinking it through, and then by the research and drafting process you realize, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to get 5 pages out of this, right? So do some of that legwork early on and make your life easier. So toward the bottom here, I just sort of came up with a sample of how you might narrow down a fairly large topic into something that would work better. So let's say that I want to do something related to TV, right? Obviously, I wouldn't want to just like randomly start searching for articles on TV, because Sort of like that topic of infidelity. There are a million ways that you can go with that, and I'm going to find like a million different ways to talk about TV. So I need to start narrowing it down first before I start that research process, right? So if I were you, what I would do is not just take like the first topic that comes to mind. I would make a list, and again, probably lists of questions related to this maybe very broad topic that you've started thinking about. What I think you're going to find is that if you create a list, probably the first few that you think of are going to be fairly generic. These things that people have kind of looked at a million times that usually aren't very interesting topics. Like they're obvious things, but that also means they're usually not good topics, right? So my guess is if I said TV to somebody, some of the first questions they might ask would be things like, does TV affect people's real lives? Is TV harmful or beneficial? Should parents monitor what their kids watch on TV? These all seem kind of like obvious questions and, things that really don't lead to any sort of complex thought. Again, it might be kind of interesting to find answers, but I think if you kind of keep generating questions, the more you go, the more interesting and outside of the box those questions are going to become. So let's say I go further, right? Maybe some more interesting questions that would lead to more interesting topics would be something like, has TikTok replaced TV in popularity? Are TV shows doing a better job of representing minority characters than in the past? Do TV shows like The Bachelor give people unrealistic expectations about relationships? All these are a lot more specific and I think probably more interesting to most people, right? And honestly, I don't know the answers to any of these questions, whereas I could probably guess the answers to the more generic topics, right? So I know, let's kind of think about these questions I came up with as compared to these sort of bullet points that I listed above, right? So are these too broad or are they too narrow? I don't know. I think that they're definitely not too broad. A couple of them might be too narrow, and maybe specifically it might be hard to research a couple of them. Specifically maybe the TikTok one, right? TikTok's a fairly new phenomenon, so I don't know that there has been a whole lot written about that platform yet, right? So that one might not work so well. I would have to see, right? But just because initially something might seem too narrow, you might be able to stick with it if you can broaden it out when you're doing your research, right? So I wouldn't necessarily have to give up on this TikTok question. I could look at, has there been a decline in TV watching, just in the past 10 years or something like that? Or I could look at something like, has YouTube replaced TV in popularity, right? YouTube's been around for a while, and I would guess that there's quite a bit written about that. Maybe not TikTok, right? If I could prove that TV viewership is declining, then I might be able to talk about TikTok as a possible factor of why that's happening, right? Things like, are TV shows doing a better job of representing minority characters than in the past? Again, I could compare, TV shows of the past versus today, right? I think there probably is stuff written about that in articles, right? TV shows like The Bachelor. I'm guessing since The Bachelor's been on so long that there probably is a decent amount written on that specific show. But even if not, maybe I could broaden this topic out and say, do reality TV shows give people unrealistic expectations about relationships, right? So again, it's a process of coming up with a topic. You don't have to abandon something you're interested in, but find a way to make it work. So again, maybe you just have these questions in mind as you're kind of mulling over what topic might work for your essay number 3. Okay, good luck. Bye.